Sounds on. We're good to go. Awesome. Guys, thank you for joining us. Jeff, thank you for being here.
Of course. My pleasure.
Week 2, episode 2 of the Wealth Equation. Knew I wanted to talk about taxes. There was a couple ways I could have gone about it. We could have had a more traditional tax professional. Was worried it may be a little dry and maybe not as applicable. And so, reached out to you. You've obviously been an investor for a really long time. I think an expert in tax. And I know it's something you think a lot about.
I do. I think a lot about it. It's funny because some people say, well, it's tax season. I'm like, it's always tax season. Yeah. You always have to be anticipating.
There's no off season in tax.
Yeah, you have to really strategize. And I always say this, there's a difference between a tax planner and a tax preparer. A lot of guys don't even realize it, but they have tax preparers. They don't have tax planners that can strategize and help people figure out where they are.
Strategy.
Yeah.
Once it's done, you have something.
If you're communicating with your tax person once a year or twice a year, that's probably not the right person to have in your corner. Sure. You may not be in a sophisticated position, meaning you have a lot of K1s or a lot of income coming your way, but at some point you need to make sure that you're vetting out that team member that can actually strategize with you all 52 weeks of the year as you're growing your book of business, as you're growing your balance sheet.
And I know it's something your tax strategy, again, believe it or not, is something you're passionate about. You said one time to me there's a certain number of pages.
When you look at all the pages with all the codes and all the iterations, you're about 70,000 pages deep. And only about 1,500 of those pages tell you how to pay. The balance is the incentive program as to how not to pay. So it's an incentive program. It's a roadmap. The government incentivizes you for certain behaviors, and it penalizes you for other behaviors as well.
And people get hot and bothered about it, right? Like, you look at like a classic, everyone was super upset. Donald Trump never paid taxes. There's reasons why. It wasn't evading it. I don't know specifics, but I know he has tons of real estate. And so there is real tax strategies where you can do it totally legally, transparently, and still not pay taxes or massively decrease your tax liability.
Yeah. Listen, taxes are the price you pay to live in a civilized society. I think we all get that. And we all want to pay our fair share. And trust me, we're paying our fair share.
For sure.
You pay it when you buy something. You pay it when you sell
Sales
something.
tax, property taxes.
Yeah, it's endless, right? You have your excise taxes. You have your death tax. It's tons of taxes in every way, shape, or form. As far as income tax is concerned, follow the roadmap, follow the playbook.
Yeah.
Now, does the government want you to invest in real estate? The answer is yes. That's how you keep cities, counties, and states vibrant. Yeah, you're pouring money into dilapidation. You're pouring money into things that attract people to want to continue to improve that specific jurisdiction. So that's why real estate is so heavily incentivized on the tax front.
So specifically today we're talking about taxes. We're talking about income taxes and how to manage those. And, so many of you guys just came off from the summer. And so you have a tax problem and you have a tax opportunity. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to do some basic education on taxes, how it's treated. And then we're going to go through, like always, we'll throw this up here. Disclaimer, I'm not a tax professional. Neither one of us is a wealth advisor. And so, like always, talk to a professional. These are, thoughts, advice, and experiences that we've had that hopefully are beneficial and valuable. So, wealth equation today, taxes and real estate. As we talked about last time, and just a little bit of recap, and if you didn't watch episode 1, please do. The link that we sent out is still the link. It's recorded on it. We talked about how taxes can be one of your biggest expenses in your life and will be. For in almost all cases, to Jeff's point, it's not just income tax, it's everything else. But it doesn't have to be as detrimental or as punitive as a lot of people do. A lot of people make a lot of money and they don't strategize, and so they pay a lot in taxes when they really don't need to or have to. My dad's in that boat. My dad's made really good money his whole life, and I know for a fact he's not an investor, he's not strategic about his taxes, and so he just could have done differently. I want to talk real quick, just so everyone's on the same page and understands it, how it works. cash versus accrual accounting. Put simply, cash accounting records revenue and expenses when money is exchanged. So when it hits your bank account or when it leaves your bank account. Accrual accounting records it when the transaction occurs, regardless of when the cash is received or paid. So I want to give you guys an example here on the whiteboard. So let's say, you're Timmy and you made 120K of income this year. Accrual accounting would say, cool, you made 120 grand of income. That's what you're going to recognize for the year. That's not how tax works. Tax works cash. So specifically, let's say you started in May. And of the 120, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, this is 2025, back ends January, February. For easy math, let's say you made 5K in May, 5K in June, 5K in July, 5K in August. Monthly back end start, you get 10K for 4 months. And so up until this point, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, you've been paid in 2025, 60K. You're owed then 60K. So you have 30K coming in January and 30K coming in February. What I wanted to emphasize here is in 2025, your taxable income, your highest number where you start at is 60K, not 120K. This will go into 2026. And so for those of you that have worked, whether it was last summer and you got paid back ends in January or February, that is now going to be a taxable income for 2025, as well as what you made this year. So first and foremost, wanted people to understand that. Then I want to speak to this myth of a write-off. So income taxes are calculated using cash accounting. So as you go, as you're thoughtful about, well, what is my taxable income for this year? Go to Bamboo HR, look at your year-to-date pay, and that's what you'll get, on your 1099 for taxes. Wanted to really quick speak to a write-off because we're going to talk about depreciation in real estate and other things today. So people misuse write-off all the time. They'll often say, cool, I'm going to go, spend $50,000 on a truck and I'm going to write it off. And they talk about it as if you're going to save $50,000. You don't save the write-off. It decreases your taxable income and you save what you would have paid in taxes. Let me use an example. So 2025 income was 60K. That's your top number. So let's say you're going to speak about charity. Charitable donations. Let's call it what it is. Donations. Cool. I'm going to give $10,000, whether it's in tithing, whether it's to a humanitarian, and it's a $10,000 write-off. Well, that doesn't mean that I save $10,000 in taxes. It means that my taxable income goes down to 50K, and let's say for easy math that I'm going to pay 30% in taxes. Now, instead of 18K of tax, I'm only going to pay 15K of tax. And so I saved 3K taxes. Handwriting's good. The principle is true. Yes?
Yep.
So
perfect.
far, so good. You also, as a 1099 and as a business owner, because all of you guys own your own businesses, when you start your LLC and that's what you run your income through, you have different write-offs. You're going to have, per diems. You're going to have, you can go buy, a truck or different things, which Jeff's going to talk about. Per diem, miles, all these things, work with a tax professional. You already earn them. A per diem is a dollar amount set apart every single day for when you're out of state. So in Washington, for example, I just looked at, $68 per day in most counties. Let's use 50. So if you're out for 100 days and it's $50 per day, well, that's a $5,000 write-off that you didn't even know you had just because you were out of the state for the summer, living in a different place. Instead of a truck, let's use miles. Let's say miles, you get another 5K write-off. It's a certain percentage of, it's a cents per mile. And so what you should do, and your tax professional will have you do, is figure out how many miles that, hopefully you already said it, but how many miles did you drive this summer? And so let's say these are all your write-offs. Well, your 50K of income minus 5K just went to 40K. And so all of a sudden you pay taxes on 40K versus 60K, and you'll save a lot of money in taxes. I mean, that's the general principles of how your tax strategy will work. And to Jeff's point, instead of coming to December and saying, okay, what did I get? You can be really strategic throughout the year in planning for your taxable write-offs. There's actual losses, and Jeff's going to talk about this more, versus phantom losses. Phantom losses is just paper loss. So an actual loss would be you hire somebody and you pay them a salary. You're not getting that money back. It's not an investment. The per diem is an actual loss. It just decreases your income. You don't ever have to go get it. You're never going to have to recapture it. Phantom loss or depreciation is what you take on real estate. Go ahead.
Yeah, and the other thing I would say is even investment losses. So you can actually write off those losses that you incurred through some investments that might have gone south.
Spot on.
So again, the phantom loss, it's a paper loss that's not a true loss versus an actual loss that's a real loss. And we can dig into that later on.
You put in $50,000 into investment, it goes belly up, you write off $50,000 so you don't pay taxes on that $50,000 and you never have to recapture it versus depreciation.
Yep.
So that's understanding at a high level depreciation. Now,
and I explain that because sometimes folks will get their K1 and they'll call me like, Mendez, I thought this was cash flowing. I'm like, it is. Well, why is it showing a loss? Well, that's actually an asset for you because you get to tell the market that this is an appreciating asset, but you tell the IRS this is a depreciating asset due to the nature of the asset itself. Because you can put these investments or these assets on a schedule of depreciation, meaning what's the actual life of these walls, of the plumbing, of the tile, of the floor, everything above the ground. You can't write off the land, but everything above it, everything vertical, you can write it off on a schedule. Usually over 27.5-year period, but with the big beautiful bill, bonus accelerated depreciation has come back, so you can take all those losses in 1 year, so you can accelerate those losses so you can be more opportune with your investments or your money or your capital stack. And then if you don't use it in the year in which you took it, it lives with you into perpetuity until you deplete it all off of your K1. So if I book it in 25, I can use it in 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. It's an asset sitting on your balance sheet. And your tax professional keeps track of that.
So to unpack a little bit of what Jeff said. Jeff said K1, and Jeff talked about this 29.5 years, 27, 29.5.
27.5.
Yeah, 27.5.
Some are like 31. It just depends.
39 on commercial. Most of what you do is 27.5 on residential. So 27.5 year depreciation schedule, meaning let's say you go buy an investment property at $1 million a year. You would take $1 million on a straight line depreciation method and divide it by 27.5. You'd get some number, I don't know what it is, and you would depreciate that every single year. What Jeff is talking about is now, because of the big beautiful bill, on $1 million property, you can do a cost segregation, essentially look at what is the value of each thing in the property, and you can take all of that loss in year one. So you can take $1 million loss in year one, which is, again, a massive advantage.
Again, paper loss.
Paper loss. So you're not actually losing $1 million, but your taxable income decreases by $1 million. So I know a lot of this can feel high level. I wanted, from a minimum, to give a understanding of how taxes work. A lot of this, again, if you're like, oh my gosh, I don't understand this, we want to get this conversation going, and then continue to have conversations with people you trust, with tax professionals, to unpack some of this. Wanted everyone to understand how income works as far as taxable income. And as you're looking at your income and what is your tax liability for 2025, it's what you were paid. If you have questions at the end, we hope to have some time to answer those. And so jot those down from a basics level. Jeff is now going to go through, so for real estate, as we've talked about a few times, one of the massive reasons why you invest in real estate is there's a real tax benefit, is one of the reasons why. Versus you go buy a stock most of the time, there's no tax benefit. And you buy it and you sell it and you pay short-term capital gains if it's less than a year, long-term capital gains where the gains are. That's just not the case in real estate. And so understanding at a high level some of the tax principles, wanted to now talk about real estate and unpack, real estate investing as an example of how to use and how to be thoughtful about taxes.
Okay, so I think the first step would be why real estate, and more specifically, what I can speak to is multifamily real estate. So, in my opinion, if you're in the real estate game, kudos to you. Big round of applause. And for me, it's good, better, best. I know a lot of folks like the Airbnb strategy, they like the SFR, single family residences, etc. I don't really play in that sandbox. I play more at the larger scale stuff, meaning I like buying stuff that has at least 100 doors attached to it. Due to economies of scale and the 12 reasons I put up on the screen.
And just double clicking into that, Jeff, a little bit, there's so many different people that have so many different strategies, and there's a million different ways to win.
And there's no absolutes.
Yeah. And there's some people crush in single families. And so, again, there's different asset types. There's a single family home, there's a townhouse, there's a condo. When you say multifamily, you're talking about
5+.
5+. So it's, a combination of a lot of fourplexes. It's an apartment complex. It's these mobile home parks.
Yep, storage units.
Which is what you've played in. I was actually being thoughtful about that. You and Casey and Bo and a lot of you guys were so active in your jobs. You guys were almost always passively investing in big syndications. You guys weren't buying single family homes, managing, being a landlord.
No, your biggest lever out of all the levers, which one is it? It's your active income. Can you double down at the grit and Mira? You can.
For sure.
You can recruit more people. You can knock more days. You can do more preseason. That's your biggest lever. That's your biggest opportunity. Our job is to create as much active income as possible, and then we need to protect that active income by seeking out passive income that can multiply those efforts that we did or conducted in an active fashion.
Make money while you're sleeping. Your baby's making babies,
like,
making
listen,
babies.
You tell your Benjamin Franklins and your George Washingtons and all these dudes, no time off for you, no PTO.
Multiply and replenish.
Go make me babies. That's it. Period. End of story.
Yeah.
So no sick days, no nothing, and I need them protected. I need asymmetrical risk rewards, so I need to protect my basis. You know the rule. Warren Buffett, what does he say?
Don't lose money.
Rule number 1.
Don't lose money.
Rule number 2.
Follow
rule number 1. So the reason I like multifamily real estate, it has really good protection factors attached to it, and I'll explain why. So appreciation is a big thing. Traditionally, real estate doubles in value as long as you're in the right MSA. And MSA stands for Metropolitan Statistical Area. So buying the right markets. What's the right market? Job growth, schools, vibrant economy, multiple jobs. If your job source is coming from 5 companies and that's it, that's a pretty dangerous place to invest, because one of those companies goes kaput, 1/5 of your labor force is out of a job.
And you guys have invested all over the country.
We invest all over the country, but I'm really strategic as to exactly where I invest, and not to get political, but we prefer red states.
Texas.
And you can be a Democrat and still like investing in red states because you don't have rent controls, and you can actually run your landlord playbook, meaning there's the no squatter rule. So you can actually run your eviction process. Like Texas is a pay to stay state. You can evict within 3 days of non-payment. So you want to be strategic there so that you can actually run your operations. At the end of the day, you're running a for-profit business, even though you want to provide a really beautiful, sustainable place for Americans to live, especially in today's affordable housing crisis that's just getting worse and worse. So appreciation. I want to put my money into an asset that goes up in value over time. As I stated earlier, what's really cool about real estate, especially commercial, is I get to tell the IRS, this is actually an asset that goes down in value, so I can create paper losses. So it can reduce my tax liability, but yet the market is giving me appreciation love. And I want to surpass the rate of inflation. You can argue that inflation today is 5 points a year. And it's just getting worse. And I think time will tell where we actually land.
So just as an example, at a basic level, assets, you want to invest, and I said it in episode 1, in appreciating assets, meaning assets that go up, like real estate, like the S&P 500, the market. a asset that depreciates, but it's still an asset, but it depreciates, it goes down in actual value, would be a Porsche in most cases, a G-Wagon, shoes. Most assets of that nature go down. What is fascinating about real estate and some of these other assets is they do go up in value, but you can tell the IRS that they go down, which is where you get the phantom loss.
You got it. Okay, and so not only do we call them phantom losses, but we actually call them phantom cash flow, because it's cash flow that you keep day one. By signing on the dotted line, you just made cash flow. Instead of shipping it over to the IRS, you're shipping it back to your bank account, and then you can buy more real estate or more appreciating assets.
Which most people don't take into consideration when they invest. It's not just the money that you get, it's the money that doesn't go out.
You got it.
So if you buy something and you save $40,000 in taxes, that's $40,000 of real return that you otherwise would have gone out and paid.
Absolutely. Okay, so the next thing that I wrote down is durable revenue. What I love about pest control, what you guys do, is you onboard a customer and you're paid into perpetuity. It's that reoccurring revenue model. No knock on solar. Do you guys do solar here too?
We don't.
Okay. No knock on solar, but it's transactional.
One-time revenue.
Yeah, it's one-time hit. That's it. So you're only as good as what you did yesterday.
Eat what you kill.
Very tough environment to be in, especially in today's capital-constrained market, right? So the durable revenue component behind multifamily real estate is really sexy and appealing for me, because I can onboard a building, and I'll get paid on that building with durable revenue as long as I'm managing it properly for as long as I hold it. You know this about me, but I actually have some restaurants on my portfolio, probably 250 plus units, and every day I have to hope and pray that people come in and consume my product.
Yeah.
It's very transactional. You know, with this durable revenue component, if these folks that are in my buildings don't pay me rent, you can actually kick them out, and they have somebody that will quickly replace them. Again, especially in today's affordable housing crisis. So what I play in is I play in affordability. I buy mobile home parks, I buy storage units, and I buy multifamily apartments. I don't really play in the Four Seasons type stuff, because I always say this: you can't turn a Four Seasons into 5 seasons. You've already gotten all the extraction out of it.
Yeah.
But I'll buy dilapidation, I'll buy deferred maintenance, improve it, and then I can command higher rents and attract a really unique resident base.
Instead of buying something and hoping it goes up in value, for example,
No. You got to make money day one
you
upon purchase.
You buy Apple, you can have almost no influence on what Apple does.
Yeah.
You go buy a dilapidated project, you can force appreciation by making it better.
Not only can you force more appreciation, but I actually buy appreciation day one. So I'll buy under market. I'll buy, you know a live deal that I have now. I'm buying it at a 60% net asset value discount. So you put 40 grand in, you're making 100 grand off of that 40 grand. So day one. So again, your risk is gravely reduced. There is no such thing as a risk-free investment, but there's such a thing as a risk mitigated investment.
And there's no discretion. There's no gap between what the market values it and what you can buy it for. Whereas the market, you go buy Apple stock, there's 1,000 analysts on Wall Street who know a lot better.
Yeah, really good point. So let me explain this. So on SFRs, on single family stuff, up to about a fourplex, how do those trade? They trade on comps. How are comps generated? Whatever your neighbors sold for. So if you have a home in your neighborhood where somebody lost a job and it foreclosed and it didn't sell before foreclosure, then that comp in that neighborhood is going to take a hit, and now your house is going to be worth less, okay, than what it should have been if that foreclosure wouldn't have been recorded. In multifamily real estate, we trade on a cap rate. And what a cap rate is, it's your NOI. NOI stands for net operating income. So and you divide that by your sales price.
After your expenses, net operating income.
Yep. So it's your net operating income, meaning your profit, like true profit.
Yeah.
Okay. So we trade on profit. So on a sale, the lower my cap rate, the better I am off as a seller. The higher the cap rate, the better I am as a buyer. So assets that I buy, mobile home parks, they're trading at a 3.8 on the lowest cap rate that I've seen. And they probably average around a 4.5, which is a phenomenal asset class to be in. And I'm buying stuff at 7 and 8 caps. So I'm getting really good values. So what I like about that is I get rewarded for my performance instead of me having to worry about what my neighbors are doing, if that makes any sense. So I'm rewarded for excellence, and I'm actually dinged if I don't perform well. I love that autonomy that I have.
There's more control.
Yeah, you're in full control. You're running a business. At the end of the day, investing in multifamily real estate, it's private equity. It just so happens to be real estate, if that makes sense. You're running a company.
Wildly accessible.
Yeah. Okay, so now
buying companies.
Yeah, and listen, you know this, but some private equity deals, they could also be called interest-free loans, where you don't see anything for 10 years. I'm sorry. Especially in venture capital, the ratio when I first got into venture capital 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it was a 10-to-1 ratio. In today's market with capital constraints, you're probably 100-to-1. So again, but once you get that one, it's a grand slam home run. There's no singles and doubles in venture. In real estate, I'm looking for singles and doubles, maybe a little triple here and there. I ain't hitting no grand slam home runs.
Yeah.
It's like watching paint dry. It's boring, but it's predictable. Okay. So cash flow. So, quite often I talk about this. Profit is theory, cash flow is king. Because you can have a really profitable company, but if your accounting isn't right, if you have a lot of accounts receivable that you're not collecting on, you can actually not service your debt and not pay your employees' payroll, and your company can become encumbered and you're out of a
making money on paper but no cash.
Yeah, so I really favor cash flow. I want to generate cash flow, and I want to buy cash flow out the gate. So a lot of the projects that I buy, I'm actually buying cash flow, where I don't have to do a lot to turn on the cash flow machine. I'm buying in-place cash flow.
And you'll speak to this, and speaking on taxes, one of the beautiful things about real estate is in most cases, until you get your principal back, you put in $100,000, you're getting cash flow, but until you exceed your principal, in most cases, you're not paying taxes on that cash flow.
No, it's just a return of basis. So the cash flow that you're getting, that cash on cash, is a tax-free event because it's dubbed as a return of principal. So you don't pay taxes on that, and by the time you get your capital all restored back to you and you start getting true cash on cash, that depreciation factor gets loaded on top of it. So your need to pay taxes, or just the taxable, meaning the how would I even phrase it? The likelihood of you having to pay taxes on any cash on cash is 0 and below 0, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry to
No.
trying to figure out how to put that into words. But cash flow, it's the heartbeat of your business. It's the holy grail of business. Cash flow is definitely king. We used to say cash is king until hyperinflation hit us, and you realize that the longer you sit on cash,
You're losing money.
Yeah, you're just losing that acquisition power. So even Mark Cuban talks about it. He says if you know you're gonna buy toilet tissue and toothpaste and all these different toiletries and goods to maintain your home, you might as well buy them now, because guess what's gonna happen a year from now? Inflation is gonna hit you, so you're gonna make a 10% return just by buying the basic goods needed to run a home. So that's just one example there. But cash flow is everything. We love cash flow, multifamily real estate. And then you can do certain things by reducing G&A, general administrative expenses, by increasing rents and all that stuff to be able to increase your cash flow. And obviously the quality of your tenants as you're bringing them in is contingent upon the quality of your rents. The quality of your rents dictates your cash flow, okay? Or leverage. So
there's a portion of that too, to your point, around multifamily being a business. Another massive factor in running your multifamily business is vacancy. If you're 90% versus 70%, 60%. And again, it's just to overemphasize the point of there is strategy with tax. Real estate is one of them. And in real estate, you have different levers you can pull.
Yeah, you have a lot of levers. Like all the levers you think about in investing, they all exist inside multifamily real estate. And then I can't stress enough, a lot of guys get enamored with the fact or the premise of, I want to be a real estate owner, I want to do all this. Well, the more Hicks Law states, the more things you focus on, the slower you react. Your core business will suffer. It will. Period. End of story. When you were growing up, your parents told you, son, John, you can do anything. They never said you can do everything. They said you can do anything. So choose where your biggest levers are, stick to that, and 10x those efforts.
With Mike and Seeger, two of our regionals here, our fastest growing program 3 years ago, they were at 7 million. They just went and did 32 million. We were talking to a rep about passive investing, and it's just saying, hey, look, like I'm sure these guys could have went and figured out single family and flipping. They just wouldn't have grown to 32 million.
There's no way.
Or very unlikely. Some people use it in recruiting, but in most cases, you just where focus goes, energy flows.
Yeah.
You change your focus, you change your flow.
Yep. I mean, listen, I'm in this business 24/7, 365, 168 hours a week. Like this is full time. And if you take your eye off the ball in this business, it can get away from you quickly.
Even 1 month is what you said.
Even 1 month, brother. Like 1 month of you not getting your NOI in track and not closing your P&Ls and putting really good eyes and ears and letting your manager get away with certain things, it can become disastrous.
And we talked about this. People
You gotta
talk
be on
about
point.
real estate investing, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna go buy an apartment complex. Like it is nuanced. You're running a full business, just
It's a
like
full business. Yep. And you don't know what you don't know. Like you have to have a lot of reps. Like this. Like in pest control, what you thought you knew in year one, 10 years later, I knew nothing. And the more time you spend in the business, the more expert you become. You're getting closer to that 10,000 hour threshold, and you realize, wow, there was a lot more for me to learn here.
It's and it's this month's book of the month, The Richest Man in Babylon. It's give your money to build bricks with the brick makers and diamond makers to build diamonds. And
you got it. Yeah, you need partners in this thing. You need partners, in tax prep and financial advice and real estate, the whole nine. And that's a big reason I retired from Vivint in 2019 is I wanted to do this full time. There's no way I could have run the Vivint kingdom and this kingdom and been successful at both. I would have failed at one. So leverage. So let's say I buy a building that's $10 million. I like doing a 50-50 LTC, loan to cost. That way I can move in and out of the asset with a cash out refinance. So I buy a building for 10. I borrow 5. I put 5 of cash. I get the love on the full 10, not just the 5 in equity, if that makes sense. So you're OPMing for sure. You're using other people's money. The other thing too, and this is the multiplier effect, which is point number 7, is when I have a manager that can run 100 doors versus a manager that runs 1, my cap on cost and my G&A gravely gets reduced, so I have better profit centers with management. If I have an HVAC issue, plumbing issue, et cetera, I can spread that cost amongst 100 plus doors versus 1 or 2 doors. Plus, if I have a fourplex, one person moves out, I have 25% vacancy. So I love scale because you can make more mistakes and it can absorb a lot more cost. So that multiplier effect is key, and that leverage is key.
Versus single family, they're gone. You're at 0.
It's tough, and it's so tough. You can buy 40 SFRs. That's painful. 40 different addresses, multiple different managers, multiple different HVAC issues that can only be absorbed by one tenant.
To put in,
so tough to
do, let's call that, let's say it's, $500,000 a pop. To do 20 million of that, you're having to do 40 different loans, 40 different appraisals.
Yeah, and borrowing at,
which again is not, it's just more.
Yeah, so for me, I can borrow $100 million. I can get underwritten in a week, and they'll give me $100 million for a multifamily complex. Like, you try to do that with single family, it's going to take you a decade to get done.
I did want to, just on this note of leverage and the power of using leverage, and where real estate is advantageous, not just from a tax standpoint, and there's also the refinance standpoint.
Yeah, and I'm going to get into that, the refinance one.
Just to show the multiplier, or your return on your money. So let's say you buy a property for $100,000, you put $50K of your own money in, and you put $50K of other people's money, to use Jeff's verbiage. The property in 2 years, let's say you're not talking cash flow, just appreciation, just to show the return on equity. In 2 years, the house is now worth $120K. Let's say you bought a stock. You put $100,000 in the market. Now it's worth $120K. Well, your return in this is 20%. It's great. You're stoked. 2 years, so it's 10%. Whoops, 10% per year. What's so great about leverage is in that 2 years, your $120K your 100 went to 120, so you had a 20K increase, but you only had 50K. Now let's say that, using other people's money costs you 5K, and so you made 15K. So again, you increased by 20, 20K minus 5K gives you 15K. But instead of having 100, which you did 120, this is how you calculate returns. 120 future minus present with current, 100. So this is a 20% return. Your 15K, you went 50. Excuse me. You went 50 plus 15, 65 minus 50, which is a 15K over the 50 is a 30% return. So you got a 50% increase from 20 to 30 because of leverage, and it's just using that as an example.
And this doesn't get taxed.
Correct.
This gets taxed.
Correct.
Short term, let's call it 40, or long term 40, short term 20, plus your state. This one you can do a step up in basis via 1031 exchange and avoid taxes on an evergreen type strategy. Never have to pay taxes on it.
Hopefully
and
this
just
made
pass
sense.
it on to your heirs.
This is just emphasizing the point of using leverage can massively increase your return. Instead of putting $100,000 into one thing, you can do 2 properties at 50, and you can compound your returns.
So now I'll go back, but I'm gonna skip because this is a good segue to the self-liquidating debt. And this is where real estate gets really, really, really cool. And once people understand this, the light bulb goes off or goes on, and hopefully it never shuts off because you'll be thinking about it like I do. So in real estate, you have something called a tenant. What does that tenant do? They have 2 main jobs. What are their 2 jobs?
Pay rent.
They pay down my principal and they pay down my debt service. So I farm it out to them. In your primary residence, John Taylor pays for his principal and he pays his debt service. So you could list it as a liability or an asset you choose. But my house, my primary residence, actually takes money out of my pocket. My multifamily real estate puts money in my pocket because of this tenant. Now, this tenant, by them paying down your principal and paying down your debt service, they're driving NOI, net operating income. So you can generate so much NOI at a certain point in which you have so much equity built in your building that now you can go back to the bank and say, bank, I have all this equity. It's not working. I actually want to get it back into the market so I can be a good steward of my fiduciary and my money. I want to do a cash out refinance. Do banks want to trade? Yes or no? Of course, that's how they make money.
Yeah.
The more transactions they can do, the more they have on their balance sheet, the more they grow, the more they're worth, and the more borrowing power they have, because it's all fractional banking anyway. By the way, fiat currency, paper and coin is only 3% of what's out in circulation. The rest is on a ledger. So you go to a bank and ask for a loan for a mortgage. It's not like they're going to give you $1 million. Here you go buy your house. What do? Click, 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 open up a ledger. It's just it's imagination. It's just debt on a spreadsheet. That's all it is. So debt is actually an asset if you know how to utilize it. And the more debt you have, the wealthier you will become. Case in point, Elon Musk. Do you think he sells Tesla stock? Heck no. He does a PAL. He does a pledged asset line and borrows against his stock so he can still have controlling interest in the company, and he can get the appreciation love of his stock when it's performing, because he knows how it's going to perform for the most part. He borrows against it, creates cash out of thin air, and guess how much he pays in tax when he gets that cash in his bank account? Zero, because you don't pay taxes on debt. So we do the same thing in real estate. So instead of me selling the building and getting rid of the golden goose that's laying me golden eggs, which is cash flow, I keep my golden goose, but I'm able to get my equity out so I can go create or buy more golden geese that lay me more golden eggs. So you're stacking assets. So self-liquidating debt means the debt liquidates itself through the tenant. I build NOI. Let's say I put $100,000 in.
Yeah.
I can strip the $100,000 out. I don't pay taxes on it. My $100,000's back in my pocket. You still own your pro rata rights inside the building, meaning you get the cash flow depreciation, the whole 9. The following month, even though your basis is back in your pocket tax-free, you still get your monthly distribution check. You do that enough times, it's game over.
That's how you create wealth.
That's how you create wealth. But the twin killers of success are impatience and greed. You have to be patient with the process, and you can't be greedy. The law of the harvest has to take effect. You can only reap what you sow. So leave it alone. Don't treat it like you do with Bitcoin, where you're freaking out anytime there's these ebbs and flows, in and out, in and out, in and out. Just let it ride. Don't try to time the market. You have to let time take its effect. That's not timing it, it's time in it. Okay? That's how it all works.
And that's something, again, and this is a nod to you and your partners. Vivint was not a quick thing. You guys don't do
Blood,
quick.
sweat, tears, and years.
15 years.
More than that.
20.
With our exit contract, 18 years.
That's something that we preach here at Grit. In a day and age where most people want more for less, we preach reaping and sowing, and then reaping. And you guys, that's what you guys, you don't just do it in your active.
The day you plant the seed ain't the day you can eat the fruit. You got to let the law of the harvest take effect, and the law of the harvest is undefeated. You can try to skip it, jump over it, like challenge it. It will kick you in the butt and take over. So fall in love with the process. Don't fall in love with the result. It's that meme of the guy chasing the diamond with the pickaxe. Couple picks, and he's got the diamond, but he's turning around because he gave up because he wanted the diamond more than he fell in love with the process.
Yeah, I saw this clip of Gary Vaynerchuk where he said something along the lines of, when our parents and your parents, and in some ways your guys' generation, not your parents' generation, but even mine, when people heard 15 years, or they were 50-year careers, and so when they heard 15 years, it was like, okay, like I can work toward that. Where today it's 15 days, 15 minutes, we just have lost patience, and investing requires patience.
Yeah, I think my dad was at his job for, call it 40 years, and it was normal. Like, that's how things were done.
Just calling it out, Jeff used the word principal. It just is your initial investment. So if you put $100,000 into a property, that's your principal. Let's say the property is worth $200,000. Your $100,000 of your own, $100,000 of theirs. You bought your $200,000 property. It appreciates to $300,000. Now you can have a 50% loan to value. You can take out your $150K and still.
Now you're playing with the house's money.
Correct.
So now when you get a check on zero, that's called an infinite return. And that's the holy grail of all investing. But this is what's interesting, John, is sometimes I'll have, a few people ping me, hey, I'm only getting 4% cash on cash. But you're not understanding the full story. You're not understanding the appreciation. You're not understanding the principal pay down. You're not understanding the debt service pay down. You're not understanding that you're getting into proximity with the cash out refinance event coming your way. And then once you get that full recap done, it's like, I want to do 20 of these. But you have to be patient with the process.
And again, just calling it out. Let's say it's a $3,000 a month mortgage, just to define some of these terms that Jeff is saying. When Jeff is saying principal, pay down, print side PAL.
Yeah, PAL is pledged asset line. So you're pledging against your shares, and it's a line of credit against your shares. Not all stocks have this. The better the stock, the larger the market cap, the more of a PAL, pledged asset line, you can do. Hopefully that answered that. I'm seeing that there's some questions on these acronyms.
Well, we'll swing back. The example here, just making sure we're clear. Is
Let us know in the chat if this is helping, if this is making sense.
Yeah, fire us up. Give Jess some glazing. He knows a thing or two.
I don't know why Zach's only going to watch it 5 times. I was hoping Zach would watch it at least 10 times, but that's fine, Zach.
So $800 principal pay down. $220 or $2,200 is going to interest. You have a high interest rate, whatever. The point is this is your money. You are putting it back in your pocket via paying down your principal, and you're doing it debt free. And so, let's say in this case, this is $3K.
Tax free.
Tax free. Did I say debt free?
Yeah.
$3K is your mortgage. Well, if you're getting $3,500, what Jeff is saying, oftentimes people will say, well, I'm only getting $500 a month. No. You are getting $1,300 a month, which is again another reason why real estate is so amazing.
And that's why we calculate things with an IRR, which is an internal rate of return. Because as an investor, I want to understand what's my time value of money.
Yeah.
So if I'm holding an investment for 5 years, and I get, let's do 10 years, and I get a 2x, well, it's not a great IRR. It's a great multiple invested capital.
Yeah.
But if it took me 10 years to get there, the IRR is not amazing.
Yeah.
That's a 9% IRR.
Yeah.
But the IRR is calculated with 2 main levers. So again, IRR stands for internal rate of return. Internally, What am I getting on an annual basis with the money that I've deployed into a certain investment? In real estate, there's two levers that make up the IRR. It's your appreciation, which we talked about, and it's your cash on cash. Those two levers combined compute your IRR. And then your multiple invested capital is on an exit. How did my capital perform on a factor of X? So when I underwrite deals, I look for 20% net, meaning I'm making 20% every single year on my money. I'm going to beat the S&P by double with a risk-adverse asset class that can withstand the test of times. And then on a MOIC, on a multiple invested capital, I'm looking at least a 2x. These numbers do not take into consideration your depreciation
Taxes.
factor. Why? Because everybody's situation is different. It's too hard to calculate. It wouldn't be fair. So if you're in a position where you can take advantage of the depreciation, those IRRs and that MOIC is way stronger, way better.
Way higher than 20 or 25.
Yeah.
And so again, the internal rate of return, what Jeff talked about, let's say you put in 100 grand, you got 200 grand over 10 years, you increased by $100,000 over 10 years. That was 10% a year. But because of time value of money, it's less than 10% a year. And that's not including, the depreciation.
So I see some questions. Yes, you can get margin called, so be really careful on how you do and again, get with your financial advisor. Make sure that, again, the larger cap stocks, the better, the boring ones, the Apples, the Googles, the Berkshires, the Teslas. And quite often those risks are computed, meaning they won't let you borrow more than what they think that stock will bear. But yeah, you can get margin called if the stock underperforms. So just be really cautious with
Jeff,
that.
and love the questions. We'll get to that. We're at 50. Let's cruise through if we can these other points of the 12.
Okay.
We'll get to a few tax items and then we'll open it
Yeah,
up.
let's do it. So, sorry, was I going there too quick? Okay, so
It's all good things. It's all good things.
So indemnification insurable. So I always ask this, and I think I asked this last time when I presented to the grit. But John, would you rather own the Sears Tower or Sears stock right now?
Stock.
Well, it's at zero.
These series?
Sears,
Oh, yeah.
Roebuck and Company,
yeah.
the retailer.
The
you
tower
probably don't even know. You probably don't even know
I remember
Sears.
Sears Washer. I thought you said Series. I was
No, Sears.
the Sears Tower in Chicago.
Yeah.
Would be better
Which
to
at
own
one
than-
point, by the way, was the largest, tallest building in
I've
the
been on
world.
it. I think you overlooked the
in
glass.
Chicago.
Yeah, no,
So-
Sears not so good.
Yeah, Sears stock, zero. You don't want that. But if I own the Sears Tower, it's appreciated in value tremendously. Plus, if it burned down or got bulldozed over, I could get it reinstated by claiming my insurance claim ticket.
Yeah.
So the cool thing about multifamily real estate is, listen, I can have a stock go to zero.
And it's not insurable.
It's not insurable. With multifamily real estate, I can get a brand new building if anything happens to it. Okay, not anything, but most things, most natural disasters.
Flooding, fire, if you have the correct insurance.
You got it. So I love that component behind it. Again, I'm looking for protection of basis.
Someone goes and F's up your property, you can get insured. Someone goes and F's up your stock.
Yep, you got it. Yeah, we work, right? you guys on all that story. So that's another reason why I listed that as a benefit in multifamily investing. Multiplier effect, we already had on that. Now recession. Okay, so I'm protected on the inflation side, but I also got to watch against recession. I mentioned this earlier. I don't necessarily love the luxury stuff like Grant Cardone buys.
Yeah.
Because you can't turn a 4 seasons into 5 seasons. You've already extracted the value out of it. Okay. When a recession hits me, that means there's constraint in the market. People are looking for more affordability because dollars are more scarce. Job opportunities are more scarce. So usually people come more downstream to where I am. I'm blue collar, I'm workforce housing, I'm family, etc. So especially in my manufactured housing communities, I can offer a 3-bed, 2-bath configuration, 1,000 square feet for about $900 all in. You can't find that in multifamily, and I do both. You can't find a 3 and 2 for under $1,300
With a yard,
It
no
ain't
one
happening.
above, no one below.
Yeah. So what happens is people will come find my product and they're sticky. They ain't leaving. And if they default there, their next option is being unhoused. So they're going to do whatever it takes to pay for their rent or pay for their mortgage, because we do mortgages too for the chattel. So that's another reason why I love multifamily investing, is I'm protecting myself against a recession. and I'm hedging my bet against inflation, meaning I'm going to be able to surpass it. Satisfies major human need, the two basic human needs according to Maslow's law: food, shelter. Regardless of how much we get into AI and goggle wearing and those Ray-Ban deals and all that stuff, people still need a roof over their head. So I want to be in the boring. I want to be in something that's going to be really hard to disrupt. If I owned an AI company, I would have a hard time sleeping at night, wondering what my competition is doing, and how they're going to take me out. Okay, self-liquidating debt. We hit on that. Hopefully, everybody understands that. Hopefully, light bulbs went on, and you guys understand that strategy. It's a very, very powerful strategy, and it's all about stacking assets. It's literally Monopoly in real life.
And if it didn't, hopefully this is the 5th time you watch this, and now it's
there you go.
Now it's clicking.
5th time's a charm. Cash out refinance. We went over it. Just remember that's a tax-free event. You deploy $1 million, you get your $1 million out. You don't pay taxes on it. You continuously get your checks.
So with that being said, there's a few quick tax, in the tax code that we wanted to touch on, and then we'll open it up for questions. So without getting, lost in the sauce, Jeff, I know you have, I think, 3 or 4 of these. Go ahead.
We can go over a few highlights here. So this is what I wanted to reiterate. When you look at all the regulations, rulings, court filings, interpretations, commentary, you're about 70,000 pages deep. Most of what you get, like, direct is 6,000 pages, and maybe 20% of that is this is how you pay it. The rest is how do I not pay it? So you have to understand the incentive program. And there's a lot of nuances. So just make sure that your tax advisors, tax professionals are on the up and up, and they're up with current events, because it's always changing. It's always changing.
And they're not all made equal. And that's like...
They're not all made equally.
Attorneys aren't all made equal. Doctors, tax, professionals aren't all made equal. And so I'm going to put... we work with Kaizen tax firm. I'm going to put their information here at the end. We really like them. I know you work with somebody different. There's a lot of really good ones. There's a lot of bad ones. So make sure you work with someone who knows what they're doing. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, and I would say too is I want somebody that represents the taxpayer, not the IRS. So just make sure that you vet that.
And can be strategic and aggressive with you while staying within the bounds. You don't want to cross the line. But you do want to take advantage of the tax code. This is something that we can touch on, and you can research more. Chat can help you research more. Real estate professional designation. So when we talk about depreciation, this loss in real estate is passive loss, unless you're actively involved in real estate and you manage properties. And so passive losses can be applied to passive income, like cash flow on a real estate property. Active losses can be applied to active. And so real estate professional designation allows you to take passive loss on real estate properties because you're a real estate professional and apply them to active income, the income you make in door-to-door sales. And so it's a hack that there's work to be done to get it, but if you can do it, it pays itself tenfold.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it any better. And on the screen, it just shows a few things: 750 plus hours. 50% of your total working time is in real estate activities. And then I just listed a few trades that check the box. Windows is a part of it too. I didn't list it. Roofing, there's a whole bunch of others. Get with your tax professional. Have ChatGPT help you out as well.
Correct. And then lastly, vehicles. There's, I'm going to go buy a truck. I'm going to go buy a G-Wagon. Speak to this.
Yeah, so it's called Section 179, and there's different weight classes. I listed 2 of them. But if you use it for business, at least 50% of the time, you can write off the vehicle. You can do the bonus accelerated depreciation. Just make sure it's used for business purposes. $6,000 is the threshold where you can claim the highest dollar amount, but it starts as low as, I can't remember the exact pounds, but there's different classes for sedans, etc.
And again, remember, write-off by going and buying a $50,000 truck, which again I wouldn't recommend unless you're in a position where you have your bases, like we talked about last week, defensive strategy versus offensive. But let's say you work with your tax professional and they do recommend that. Yeah. You're not saving $50,000.
No, just make sure that you were going to buy that vehicle regardless, and it has to be used for business purposes. Don't get giddy and say, my CPA told me to buy a truck, so I'm going to justify buying a new truck. No, that money's better utilized elsewhere. The tax savings should be the cherry, not the carrot.
Like in real estate.
Correct.
You're driven by the return.
You're driven by the return profile, not by the depreciation factor.
And then real quick, Jeff, you can touch on this.
Yeah, so listen, this is the Augusta rule, and it all comes back to golf. This tournament in Augusta that's very famous. There was no housing, so some people got together and said, well, is there any way I can get a tax benefit for letting people stay in my place of residence so that they can actually enjoy the tournament? So that's why it's called the Augusta Rule. So this, in essence, is how it works. You got to rent your home or your business or another entity at a fair market value rent, keep your rental agreement and documentation, and then income under 15 days, you actually don't need to report it on your tax return. Anything above that, you do need to report. And then you host company meetings. You can deduct whatever it is that you charge on rent dollar for dollar.
So a really simple example is my house. My business rents out my house for me once a month, for
Board
$1,500
meetings,
or whatever it is.
recruiting events, whatever it is.
And you can write that off as well.
That's correct. Just keep proper documentation and make sure that it's used for legitimate business purposes. But it's a great opportunity for you to be able to utilize the tax code on all the incentives that are there in it.
And I'll touch on this. Charitable contributions include tithing, includes donations to primary children and other things. Reduces your taxable income at a higher level. At your, when you have exits or when you make good money, you can do donor advised funds, short DAF, which is you can donate it in the same year you go have a big exit. You can donate, $1 million, have it in your DAF, and then you can distribute that over time.
And
so
by the way,
strategies
just
around
FYI,
that.
some DAFs will let you fund all the way through February the following year.
Really?
And retroactively count it for the previous tax year.
Cash accounting through February,
Correct.
although you can go backwards. It's
Just
awesome.
make sure that whoever you're using as your 1001(3)(c)(3) has that DAF
Designation.
available for you to do so.
So let me touch on this, and then we'll come back to this, and then we'll open it up for questions. Hopefully, like I said, this was super valuable. I know it has been for me. Jeff is obviously a wealth of knowledge, and there's just so much to unpack in investing education and tax education. And so just more is more. And, we're going to continue to add to do this and try to teach more and more. Like I said, this is the firm that we work with, Tracy Smith and Ted. They've been really great to us. So that's the email. If you want to reach out to them, they can help you set up your LLC and hopefully have some strategy before the end of the year. As so you're not just hitting somebody up in April to file the taxes before April 15th, because what's done is done. The music's already been played, and at that point, you're just preparing it. Reminder, book for November is The Richest Man in Babylon, and we have more coming up. Before we get to questions, I went over this deal with Jeff today. We've talked about it multiple times. It's called The Collective. It's a group of about 2,000 pads of mobile home parks, of mobile homes in mobile home parks across the country, specifically mostly in the South, Southeast, maybe Midwest. Anyways, really excited about this. I'm going to, put a good chunk of money in it. Invited Jeff tomorrow at 4 p.m., both virtually and then here at HQ, to come present it. Jeff's, really excited about this deal for a number of reasons. There's the tax depreciation. You see 100% in year one. There's the MOINC, all these things that we just talked about, the 2.7. It's a 5-year hold, 25% IRR with a 20% pref, which is unheard of. We'll unpack that more tomorrow. But, yeah, really excited about this deal. Excited to hear about it more tomorrow.
Awesome. Excited to be here tomorrow.
Yeah.
2 days at the Grit.
Fire it up.
What a great
You're
week.
excited about this. I mean, anything.
I love it. It's the best deal put together. I'm buying this, and I'll disclose it before tomorrow so you guys can get excited to attend. But we're buying it at a 60% discount. And then on top of that, we just inherited $40 million worth of homes that we're not having to pay for.
That math checks out.
It sounds too good to be true.
You said that, you're like, I'm trying not to oversell this. But again, what's super exciting about this asset is this is one that...
And that's what you get in distressed operations deals. It's not a distressed real estate deal. It's a distressed operator.
Which fires me up because this is something that you and your team used to operate when it was,
it's
performing
exciting.
way better.
We'll go
and
over it tomorrow.
There's high level of confidence with that. We're really excited about it. So tomorrow at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard. Guys, we'll just open it up real quick. I know we're at the hour mark. For any questions, so drop them in the chat. If there's not, a lot of questions, we can wrap up and, answer more tomorrow. Don't know where to start in leveraging my money for FRMs, bank loans, staycation, creative financing, friends. I mean, you want to take that? You want me to take that?
Leveraging my money for multifamily real estate?
Yeah.
Bank loans, probably not. Syndications, I mean, that's what we do is syndications. So you can come into our offerings. We operate them. We control the property I am the property manager. I'm the asset manager of the whole nine. but I would just do cash that you can deploy without having to affect your daily living.
And there's a portion of it too, obviously that's actually not updated. It's a $48 million equity raise, and they're taking down $100 million of some version of that. And so they're using leverage massively, not over levered. You're big on not being over levered or using too much debt. And so the advantage again of investing, whether it's with Jeff, we've done a ton of deals with Jason Harris. We always use debt, and it's the reason why we have gotten such great returns. You can go out and go buy on your own a fourplex in Utah in the saturated market in a market that's appreciated by 100% over the last 5 years. It's just harder, and it's harder to qualify for a $1.2 million fourplex. And if you're buying a $700,000 fourplex, there's just a lot of work to be done, which you also can do. And so there's a portion of it too that's market and where you're at.
Yep. So I read Alex's. Alex, what I would do is you're already cash flowing at 12% cash on cash, which is phenomenal. Congratulations.
It's amazing.
I would actually do another deal that can pay you similar to that one, so you can keep stacking assets and scaling. I would not redeploy cash in an already existing investment that's performing really well for you. I would keep stacking assets and just keep growing your portfolio. As a young investor, is it worth it to invest in stocks like the S&P? Yeah, I think S&P is great. You want to have different allocations for different type of assets and investments. Yeah, S&P is great. Again, I'm a big fan of the top 10. I don't really like even if there's a hot stock tip, I don't chase those stock tips. I'd rather just play in certainty. Warren Buffett's philosophy, where these companies have tons of cash on the balance sheet. They have really good economics and a really good management team, and I can just bet on those and go to sleep well at night knowing that company is going to keep thriving.
And so it's a great
Coca-Cola,
question.
Pepsi, Frito-Lay, the whole nine.
And the SP 500 is the 500 best companies.
Yeah, and that list changes. So I would top 10, top 20, maybe not dip too much below that. Like, I know NRG is a hot stock right now with my event friends, but I probably wouldn't buy NRG personally. I'd rather buy the larger cap stocks.
Tomorrow we'll touch on it more. But ultimately, Jeff is an investor. He's a professional investor. He's made tons of money throughout his career and invested more and made more probably now in his investments than he has in his active income. He doesn't just do one asset class. You're not just doing real estate. And so it's not or, it's and.
Yeah.
Love real estate.
As a sponsor, I only do real estate, but as an investor, as an LP, I'll play in different asset classes.
Correct. Yeah, private equity and VC and oil and gas. And I mean, you've done kind of it all.
Done a lot.
So we'll take maybe a couple more and then we'll wrap.
Okay, where
what would be the first step or investment approach for someone with some capital but no prior experience in real estate? That is, and I'll say this, we talk about buying a home. I love buying a home. I love buying, a 3 or 4 bedroom, renting that to your roommates. And then on top of that, you can go and I bought a single family home, but that was, 5 years ago when it was just less expensive, and I did fine, but it was a lot of work. I was a landlord, and very quickly it was, I never want to do this again. And so we just passive invest. The advantage of doing a deal like the Collective, and the minimums are usually, 200,000, 150,000 or more, because you guys are in the grit fold. We'll do, you can come at $50,000. You can put your money alongside professional investors and continue to learn and they've learned a ton from their mistakes, as opposed to going and paying the price, learning all of your own. Both are good. You can still do that. You probably will get, in most cases, especially those early years, a better return. And you can learn without losing, money.
Yep. What would be the first step?
Yes. Dylan Thompson, to your answer, yes. And again, I would talk to your tax professional to help you with that.
Hey, so Brett, what I would say, and this is going to sound cliche, you may not like my response because everybody wants to know kind of what that golden ticket is, but there is no such thing as a good investment, only good investors. So just get good enough at investing so you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. And I live by the rule, Albert Einstein actually said this, if you can't explain it simply enough where a 6-year-old can understand it, you don't understand it well enough yourself. And that's why I love real estate. It's simple. but just pay the price of becoming a great investor through reading books, getting into circles like this, listening to these live streams, and just get in the room where it happens and cut your first check and learn and become that sophisticated investor. Like, again, there's no such thing as good investment, only good investors. Some guys can do awesome in crypto and some can lose their shorts. Some know what they're doing, some don't. You know, some guys, not very many, are good at day trading and most of them lose their shorts. It's not the specific asset class, it's the investor, it's their discipline, it's their know-how, it's their knowledge of when to enter, when to exit, how to hold, how to be patient. You know, a lot of people, they make the mistake. They buy when they shouldn't and they sell when they shouldn't because they invest emotionally. You got to take the emotion out of it. You got to treat a dollar like this lifeless thing that all the emotion is out, and just be disciplined with your investment thesis. And the deal of a lifetime comes around once a week. Never invest with FOMO because you will make mistakes. Just be disciplined, understand your investor buy box, and stick to that plan, and have a long time horizon as your guiding light.
And this is, again, coming from somebody who has 30 years of investing. Like, you've learned some of these lessons the hard way. Which is so beneficial to us, which is why we do this stuff, so that we don't have to go pay the price.
Yeah, of course. Like, listen, the experience is the best teacher, and it's better to learn from experiences that others have gone through, so you don't have to go through that same pain yourself.
Guys, I'll wrap with this. Kenzo asked favorite book or podcast. I'll shout out Jeff's podcast, and he'll be back tomorrow, like I said, at 4 to go over this deal. But Jeff has a really great podcast. He does a great job, called Live Life by Design. When I go around and train and I talk about living life by design and having your rocks and having your categories that you care about, that's from Jeff. You see it on his hat. And so, yeah, shout out to that podcast. Maybe a couple favorite episodes. I know Paul Olson was on. He talks tax.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so if you want to learn more about tax, Paul Olson and I did a podcast. In fact, my production team was rolling their eyes when I said, hey, I want to get a CPA on here. They're like, oh my gosh, this is going to get no love, no hits, no nothing. It's one of the most viral episodes that we produced. Oddly enough, people want to learn about taxes, and they want to be able to keep their hard-earned dollars inside their own pocketbook and inside their own balance sheet. So, yeah, it's a great episode, especially with what we've been discussing today.
Jeff was just on Casey's podcast. It was really good, really insightful. They talked a ton about this job. Shout out to that. Other favorite podcasts outside of, obviously, the one we did together?
So, full disclosure, I'm not a big podcast listener or viewer. But let me give you maybe a couple books.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I think I've recommended this one before to the group, but I love Cash Flow Quadrant. It's an oldie but a goodie by Robert Kiyosaki, which talks about self-employed, investor, employee, so forth and so on. I would also read The Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham. Accounting 1000, but it's taught as Accounting 101.
Is that the same guy who does Tony Robbins?
You got it. Yeah, phenomenal.
Simply put.
Very simple, very practical, very pragmatic. So The Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham and Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. The other one that I would recommend is Lifestyle Investor by Justin Donald.
Finally, speaking of books with Jeff, shout out to his wife. Emails, say her name. Shamile.
Yeah, the YA is pronounced as an SH.
I can see it on the child books, but
it took me over a year to figure that one out.
If you have kids, his wife writes phenomenal books. My kids love them, called Where Are You From? What Will You Be? And
She's got 38
Does
published.
I mean, those are my top two. So shout that out. Jeff, thanks so much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
We'll see you tomorrow. Appreciate you.
All right, brother. Appreciate it.